I was like interested in writing and comedy, and
at 12.
Yeah, and so was he. Like, he wrote like short stories, and when you're 12 and you like writing and you meet another kid who likes writing, it's like a very easy connection. And we both like comic books. Like, we had a lot, we just had a lot in common, and so we started hanging out, and we started trying to write Superbad like when we were like 13. Like, very quickly we decided to try to write a movie together.
So that was your first attempt at a film with Superbad.
Uh-huh.
And it's weird because the characters
It only
in
took
Superbad
around 10
are...
to 12 years.
Yeah, but the characters in Superbad are 17.
Yes.
So when you were 13, were you writing about 17-year-olds?
No, when we were 13, they were 13, and then they got older as we got older. I think when we were 13, we probably didn't even realize we should be paying much attention to how old they were. It was like, they're like
us.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like us. And then as we got older, we were like, oh, as a movie, it should have context, and you should understand, like, that they're maybe gonna graduate soon, and all these, like, at first it was just almost like scenes of things that had happened to us, slash just, it's almost like, was like high school sketches.
Right,
It was
right.
like zoning out in Spanish class, some of this, like, real, like, you know, sitting in the cafeteria, making fun of the other kids, like, things that we did, like, and then we'd go to a party and something would happen, and we would just, it was kind of like writing out shit that had happened to us in, like, scene form, basically, and making it funnier than it was in real life, and adding jokes and punchlines and stuff like that. And then slowly, over the next couple of years, it like got this structure of like, oh, it could be about these guys who were trying to lose their virginity, kind of, and then college is coming, and then beyond that, we were like, oh, it would be great if it had like a deeper emotional story about separation and all these things that, as we went from being 13 to 22, we got much more comfortable talking about and just more context on, as you know, as it had kind of gone in the past a little bit.
Right.
Know?
Well, I was curious if the way you guys wrote scenes originally for Superbad, if they're still, if your process and structure is still similar to the way it was when you started.
Yeah, very similar. It's almost exactly the same, honestly. We would write in his sister's bedroom. There was a family computer, and we would go there after school. Eventually, maybe that's when we were like 12 or 13. And eventually, yeah, at first it was just like sketch, like again, like we'd be like, oh, at that party this weekend, like Dan and Matt got in a fight over him taking his beer. Like, let's write that, you know? Like, once we stole a keg, and so we had to like crack it open, and because we didn't have the pump, and so we would pour the beer, and we stored it in all these weird containers, and we kept it in like detergent jugs, and which
like
is
in
why in
Superbad.
Superbad he does that. And so we kind of would just write down these funny things that were happening, and then as we got a little older, I remember like when we were like 6, like I started smoking weed, so I would want to get out of the house and write somewhere else. We would literally sit in my grandparents', I would borrow their Volvo, and we would just park it on the street in Vancouver, and that's when laptops around then you could get one. And so we would literally sit in a parked car on the street and smoke weed and write on a laptop computer for
so no
hours.
Difference to now.
Sometimes we'd sit in an alley, literally, like, yeah, it's not that different, honestly. Like, now we understand so much more about like the structure of movies and how to, but even that we're trying to challenge and come up with.
How you doing? I'm Cory Hunter, and welcome to another episode of Tips with Directors. In this episode, we're listening to an interview from Seth Rogen. Now, in this interview, Seth Rogen is speaking about his experience in writing Superbad. Usually, when we write a script, we want to get it done as soon as possible. And that's a good thing because there is success in completion. However, we also have to learn to take our time. Because once we finish writing that script, it's not really completed. All we really have at that point is a draft. Now, a lot of people want to go out and really put money behind a draft, really try to market and pitch their draft. But it's a draft. You got to put it down, let it sit, come back to it and read it, and then you will see all the problems the script have, and then you will go through it again. Seth Rogen spoke about his process, and his process was that they came up with a whole bunch of small ideas. And then eventually after having all these small ideas, they was able to attach a core storyline to it. They was able to structure it. So after spending all this time gathering all these ideas, they was able to structure it, and then they was able to have Superbad. That's what needs to happen. Usually when we write our first script, our first draft, what we have is a whole bunch of ideas, and it's not necessarily structured. Now, we all want to believe that, we the mastermind. We want to believe we're a megamind. We want to believe, okay, yes, that's true for everybody else, but for me, I don't need to do all that. I see the whole thing in my mind. I can see the movie. I'm special. I'm unique. I'm writing the darn thing, and it's going to be right. And that's how you feel even after you write it. You write it and you're like, yo, script is good, man. I don't need to work on it. What I need to do now is I need to push this script. I need to pitch it. I need to get funding for it. I need to do something with it. You start believing I'm the only one. Like, I'm the chosen one, all right? Like, only I can create this script. And that's true. Only you can create your script because you are you and there's only one you. However, the script is not done. You have to do more work on the script. That's why I said you have to let this the script sit for a while. Let it sit for a few days. Let it sit for a week. Go back to it. And then you will see the problems. Now, the problem may be that you don't want to go through the script. And that's a problem that we have with discipline or focus or whatever the case may be. But we have to go through the script again. We have to really structure it and get it right. Part of writing is going through it over and over and over until we create something special. Rarely do we create something special the first time around, if ever. All right. So that's really the moral I wanted to get across, is the fact that they put in work. He said 10 years, and 10 years isn't something that's extraordinary. Like, this is pretty common. People work on scripts. What they're doing is they're going over and over it in their mind. They're going over and over it in terms of conversations and discussions. And it's not really like hardcore sweaty work because they enjoy it. They enjoy speaking about the art. They enjoy speaking about the work, the story, and therefore they don't mind spending hours and days and weeks, months and years talking about the same idea, because every time they speak about it, something new will spark up. And the script keep on evolving and getting better until eventually it's so good that we have to stop, because they get a point where we do become obsessed with our script, right? We have to pick up the script one day, read it, and say, yeah, this is a good script. I could work on it more, but this is a good script, and I need to move on to other ideas, all right? So, yeah, don't be afraid to go over your script over and over, because that's part of the process. We can't just pick up the script and be like, nah, I'm going to get through this part. I'm going to get through this part. Like, it don't work like that, all right? We have to take our time and write the script and then go through it again and then go through it again, because there's no way around it, right? There's a lot of flaws in our thoughts, right? And when we first put our thoughts to paper, we can see that. That's what we're fixing. We're fixing those flaws. And we can't be impatient and try to skip that process. We have to, and we usually try to cover it the first time around, right? We're getting to the script. That's why we get writer's block, right? That's why we get stuck. We're like, all right, I know what happens to the next part, but there's a bridge in between this part, and how do I get there, right? And keep on thinking about the idea. You come up with better bridges. You come up with a better core and spine for the movie. And then your movie end up, the autonomy of your script end up becoming better. So thank you. I appreciate you for spending time with me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And until next time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check me out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Leave a comment so that we can get a discussion going. Check out the Patreon. Check out the Turtle School. That's there for you. Tools to help you learn and write and create stories. Thank you, and I appreciate you.